Amidst the fire and destruction of the eternal great game Xorvintaal, the Dragonborn came to be. Given life not as a gift, but as an expectation of duty, to be warriors in an unstoppable war that would rage across the ages. Then the reign of chaos. Then the rise of the Seneschal, the god king who forged the Nine Kingdoms, with an army of unification. And then the Purge. The Dragonborn, along with many other magical races, are hunted and destroyed. And these are their last days. We see far above a dark, inky sky dotted with 1,000,000 stars and lit by 3 moons. A clan of Dragonborn are moving their way across an open plain. They hide by day and they run by night. They are of the Brass Creed. And on one such night, a shaman of their number looked into the stars, calling out to the great dragons to which all clans are bound. And from the stars, a voice came. Join me. The Great Protector called to Clan Nerexius to lead them to safety through the Dragon Gate. And with that, their destiny was decided. Previously on the Lawkeepers.
The Lorekeepers. I can give them marks for size and skill, but they lack subtlety, and I question their foresight. It seems as though they are hurtling headlong into this war without a plan, without a strategy, and without taking time to ask the right questions. The updates from the Rogue Arcane were always succinct, not leaving much room for elaboration. However, I will mention to Orlin that more details about these people would have been useful. They're referred to as a unit, as if they are of one mind and one purpose. But the 3 I have met are strong-willed, arrogant, stubborn, and prone to bicker. I still do not know where the 4th is, although the waves of grief that emanate from these are telling. I suspect he has fallen, and Advent has gained another foothold. Azarax is a kindred spirit I did not expect to find. Certainly I was aware of the drow who cast spells, but so far he seems to be a mediator and a voice of reason. And to add to that, he doesn't seem to be struggling under the weight of his own ego and surety, unlike the witch hunter. Marius. For the rest of my days, I may regret not killing him on sight and avenging my people. But how can one woman right the balance? How can I ask one man to pay the price of a river of blood? The witch hunter is rash, emotional, and overconfident. I do not trust him. Taxes the Dragonborn. He is far larger, far wilder than I expected. Nearly animalistic in his tendencies, but childlike in his emotions. I wonder how much comes from having no memories, no anchor for his soul and identity. He's angry and sad, and his grief touches me in a way I could not have anticipated. We are through the portal now, seeing what became of the Dragonborn, and it is nothing like I imagined. I fear we will find no true allies here, only a tyrant in the form of a great red dragon. The witch hunter speaks as if to bring the beast back with us, to use it to defeat Equinox. But I cannot allow that to happen. The way to restore balance is not to introduce a greater threat, one whose greed and lust for knowledge is unparalleled. What's more, this creature is confident in its power, and seems only to be speaking to us out of a perverse desire for entertainment, like a cat playing with its food. It has all the memories of taxes and taunts him cruelly. No, this beast cannot return to our world.
And as Taylor, you take a point of inspiration. Amazing stuff. Taxes, the last thing that you remember is a colossal dragon claw soaring down towards you and hitting you as simultaneously a blast from the miasma returns something to you. You see darkness. And then you remember. Taxes. You were not always called that. Once you went by Tarnus Nerexius, a Dragonborn who led his people. You see a huge green miasma. It's almost like you can see the faces of your people within. And beyond it, the blackest silhouette of a colossal dragon, weaving these souls, these memories, as if they were silk. And standing before you is your clan shaman. You feel like your memories are returning to you gradually, but you recognize this individual. And he's grabbing onto your face and he's saying, "We either die or we pay the tax. But you must run. If one Dragonborn can escape, they will act as an anchor and draw this world back. They will draw us back. Take this." The old brass Dragonborn shaman reaches to a clawed hand, and he removes a silver talon ring from his finger and presses it into your hands, Tarnis. Now, go! Tarnis, I would like you to explain to me the feelings that are running through your mind as you begin to run to attempt to escape Daggerfang all those years ago.
I remember seeing old Lego, my Dragonborn, my shaman. He was my advisor. And as I look into his eyes, I can see the pain on his face. He warned me. He warned me about this. And as I'm running away, I feel cowardice. I feel anger and pain. But he's right. I have to do what's right for my people. We'll be slaughtered if we stay out on the material plane. But Latsu, I know you. And I trust you. But this is foolish. I can't just run away from you And as he's running down the hallway, as he's running down the corridor, he's just becoming more and more aggressive, more and more enraged. And there are moments where he stops and he turns back and he looks back. And he thinks to himself, I can fight. I can do something. I can rescue my people. This dragon does not hold power over us. We are more, and we are mighty, and we are a race. I don't want us to be crushed out. But as he continues to think of this, he realizes that the power is insurmountable. That this dragon is far massive and far more powerful than he is. And he slips the Talon ring on. And he cuts into his hand as he's running, the Talon ring stabbing a hole in his left hand.
I will be back for you. I promise. I will be back for all of you.
And as he continues to run, I imagine he's being chased. He's being followed by a slew of Taaldarax's minions, his horde.
And as the silver Talon ring goes upon your finger, it's almost like you feel something activate within it. You are, as you can, your breath heavy in your lungs. For you, the vast, known as the Midnight River. But no boat awaits for you. But in the distance you hear you desperately are hurling yourself into the water like a serpent moving through it, like a second instinct. But all the while above you, you hear the thunder of wings. And beneath you, grasping, clawing hands. Some type of energy trying to pull you back. Don't abandon your people, a voice says. You must stay. You must protect them. You keep swimming faster and faster, harder and harder.
Shut up! I can't. He's too strong. You don't know what that means.
And he keeps riding. He keeps swimming. And it's almost like he's clawing through other Dragonborn, trying to pull him back. And he reaches up out of the water when he gets to the other edge. And it's like he's drenched in shame and regret and grief. Because he knows that this river is the boundary between him and his people now. And as he looks from the other side of the river, he just falls to his knees for a minute. He knows he can't stay very long, but he falls to his knees. And I imagine that on top of this hill, he claws something. He claws an image in the sand. And it's an image of his people, a symbol of his brass Dragonborn creed.
I will be back for you, I promise. One day. I don't know how, but I will find a way back to you.
Shit! And he gets up, he pounds the ground right in front of him, a large crater that sits before the symbol of the brass Dragonborn. He smashes into the stone, and he gets back up, and he begins to run again. If there are tears welling out of his eyes, out of the double eyelids that come from the Dragonborn. He's just spewing these like salt tears against these brass scales, and they're sort of glistening in the darkness of this cave that is illuminated by like the firelight.
And as you're hurling yourself up this hill and clambering up an escarpment, you see the cave that you led your people through, and you are running as fast as you can. And as you hurl yourself into the mountainside, the rock around you explodes as a colossal dragon slams with its full weight into the mountainside in an attempt to stop you. The rocks are collapsing around you. You are hurling yourself down this cave passage as this dragon, what people forget about dragons is that they can burrow exceptionally well through rock. And you can feel the ground being churned away behind you as you run faster and faster and faster. And you hear these words bellowed through the cave behind you.
Flee from me. Obey. All that lies before you is death and taxes.
And hurl yourself through the dragon gate. You feel something clasp onto you, but not onto you physically. It's almost like it grasps onto your soul. With a pain that is indescribable, your being is being wrenched from you. The dragon cannot risk you revealing the location of this place, revealing the location of his horde. And while you may not die, you will still pay the tax. What is the last thing that runs through your mind as your memories are wrenched from you? For the last time, Thomas.
Tarnus Norixius.
I was a cocky son of a bitch. I was a young Dragonborn that had to have older dragons facilitate my leadership. I led them because I thought it was right. And I can still smell the dirt and the rock from the mountains as me and my brothers would hunt the animals that gathered around the mountaintops. I can still smell the scent of incense and the things that boil up in me. I see my shaman, Latsu's face. I see him and I hear him say what he always said to me when I was a kid. Sia set Umberto, young Taaldarax. I didn't understand what that would mean in my life. Sia set Umberto. It means open your eyes. I didn't realize what that meant till now. Open your eyes and be a leader. You son of a bitch.
And I think the last image that he has is the 4 members of his probably hunting tribe riding off into the mountains, hunting something, spreading their fire and their flame across the mountainscape to kind of coax their prey into a hunting ground. And then hunting and the thrill of the kill and the hunt. And it's just Ulatu's claw grasping along the side of him, praising him for that first kill, that first hunt that he did before he became leader. And then it's wiped out.
And almost autonomously, like it's instinct, as your memories are being wrenched from you, as your life is being taken from you, that last image of your people shepherding prey with fire. And you look down, you're bleeding from your injuries. And with Ulatu's claw, you take that blood and you daub death and taxes upon the cave wall. And as your being is finally wrenched, blazing fire breath coats the cave. And then you see nothing. Azarax. You are barely able to see Taxes behind the colossal claw that pinned him to the cave wall. This green energy pouring around where Taxes was, at least. And then the dragon removes its massive weight, and Taxes falls just limply onto the bed of rusted coins on which you all stand. What's going through your mind? What do you do?
I imagine that there's the briefest shuffle of these ancient rusted coins underneath the feet of Azarax. Instinctively, he charges forward. But it's only half a step as he sees this gargantuan maw of this ancient, frightening beast in front of him. He sees his ally, one of his only true friends in this world, fallen before him. And not knowing what else to do, he tries to buy time, something that he's done ever since he was a gutter snipe himself. Great protector, you are magnificent in your splendor. The fear is evident in his voice. He's shaken to the core. His bones themselves shiver with this icy cold of dragon fear that permeates the whole of his existence. But he continues to speak and stammer out these words. Surely we are too small and insignificant to have annoyed you thusly, but let me say this. While we are small and minute, mere insects in your splendor, perhaps you could use us as allies, for we come from a land far beyond. And as I gaze up at your lofty hoard here, the taxes that you've collected, it occurs to me, maybe there is something that someone knows somewhere that you have not been able to go, not because you're not able, of course, but perhaps because of your splendor, it makes it difficult for you to travel there unseen. Perhaps there is something we could bring you as tribute.
towers over you.
Like your kind, drow, you flail in the darkness. I was of the impression your folk could see through the shadow. But looking on you now, your voice, I hear empty words.
The dragon looks down at the form of Taxes. Taxes is unconscious at this point. He appears to be twitching on the ground.
I have all the time in the universe, but I shall not have it wasted.
And you see flames flicker, course from the sides of his mouth.
Wait, Great Protector! I can prove it! He holds up his hands instinctively as if to try to hold back this dragonfire, and we see the spell glove glow, and an image appears above him, this 20-foot hologram of scintillating energy. We have done great things. I understand my words are not worthy of your great ears, but behold, the Battle of Talazan, and we see the great cavern in the Drow City. We see from the eyes of the Gloom Mother looking down, this kraken rising up only to fall down into the darkness. It shifts again to the fight in the Methanium against the Hydra, and again to all of these different scenes of glory that we have undertaken as Lorekeepers. I am not an eloquent speaker, but look, we have done these things. Surely we can be of use to you.
And you see his eyes widen slightly as your illusions show these flashing images of all of your great deeds. And he moves his head back slightly. The rumble of countless treasures beneath his feet.
I must dwell on this. You must recess. Take your friend, and we shall speak more on this when night has fallen.
One more question. Oh, Radiant One.
Speak.
When was the last time that you were in our world?
Your world.
Yes, the one that we come from, and the one where the real world is.
To me it seems like only yesterday. But for one as small as you, thousands of years, generations.
Marius lets out this low whistle as if he's impressed. Wow. And why have you not returned since then? Oh, Dazzling One.
This is my domain. I draw power from this place. It has awarded me much.
But you
Power
could,
is cyclical.
if you wanted to, return.
The dragon shoots you with this look.
Go now.
Thank you for your time, O glorious and resplendent one. Marius will do this like courtly bow and start backing away.
Yeah, the dragon is just staring at you, Marius, like, for its size, there isn't a sound. You're quite sure you've never heard a silence like this before in your life. Taxes is still on the ground.
There'll be a flourish of Azrax's wand as this ring of blue energy appears around Taxes. I'll cast Levitate and start pulling him out as Azrax backs up. I think he's still on his hands and knees, sort of bowing with every back step as he makes his way out of the chamber.
And yeah, you do. And finally, Lise, what's been running through your mind about this all this exchange as you're about to leave?
Lise is concerned, and that's an understatement. And she will have words with Marius about what he's planning and what he's thinking and why he seems to be interrupting and almost antagonizing this dragon at times. But she's mostly concerned for Taxes at the moment.
Yeah, and you're able to retreat, and the size of this dragon, you're still walking down the corridor, and if you were to look back, you'd still see at least part of him. And he is just watching your every step as you leave the way you came. You find that the corridor that you came down to be sort of in a similar state, but Red Mirror, the red dragonkin and leader, seemingly of his kind, is not waiting for you. Perhaps he didn't expect you to be coming out. But yeah, you find yourself walking back, and I'm gonna say that it's probably only until you reach that bridge that bridges the mountain to the huge sort of rock citadel that is attached to the mountain. You're on that bridge. That's probably when you only start getting your breath back, perhaps. Marius, what are you thinking? What are you doing?
So Marius is as afraid as the rest of them of this enormous dragon god, but he's like lived a life and trained his whole life to like not acknowledge, or like to acknowledge it, but also to like let it pass. Right, that's like what his main training has been, to like feel the fear and then get over it. And so he's able to think a bit more than the rest of them, maybe. And it seems to him that if this thing was so powerful, like, sure, it's a god here, I guess, but it could also be a god in a world filled with way more stuff than just these dragon people. And it hasn't done that. And so he's thinking, maybe it can't leave here. Like it's stuck here. And that's what he thinks the bargaining chip is. So that's what he was trying to antagonize it, because it didn't say, of course I can. It said nothing.
Yeah. What's the plan, guys? You're on this bridge, you're sort of From here, you have quite a breathtaking view of Daggerfang. It's a glorious place. It's sweeping mountains, and you can see forests in the distance. You can see that the sun is still in the sky, and you still know you have a good few hours before nightfall when you're to return to the dragon with your terms. But it's almost like it's almost too idyllic for such a tyrant to rule over. What's the plan?
Eat. Let's get some food and sit and discuss.
I think that once we get to the bridge, Azarax would rest Taxes down and check him. Is he alive? Is he breathing? Like, what kind of state is he in?
Yeah, Lise would do the same. Just looking at his, I know so little about this kind. Is this normal?
I don't know. He sweats kerosene. I have no idea.
His insides are mostly the same as ours. I've seen them. He's been chopped to bits like I have. It's, I'm gonna go over and see that all the bones are still in the right place and whatever. And if they're not, I'll just do the standard, take off my gauntlet and just rub my hands together and then burn him to consciousness.
And it's almost clear, whatever it is that you do, your battlefield sort of. I'm not gonna say that takes a spell slot of yours, Marius, because essentially he was just unconscious and needed waking up.
Yeah, it's a good slap in the face.
Yeah. So, Taxes. You wake up, but doors have been opened in your mind. You were once tarnished, Norexius. And that's now.
Yeah. So there is a definite roar from Taxes as Marius lays this defibrillator of consciousness on him, and he shakes for a minute, stirring on the bridge. And it's almost like he instinctively wants to grasp at whatever just did this. So, Marius, as you're standing in there, you lay on hands, and then it's just this claw comes directly to your neck, and you have a Dragonborn choke slam getting ready to happen.
Marius will reach down and grab one of the looser teeth in your mouth and hold it, and I'll say, "I'll pull this out of you. You let me go."
And he realizes that it's you. And he's like,
I'm sorry. Just where are we?
He realizes that they're not near the dragon anymore. And he falls to his knees for a minute. He takes a breath in and he smells that fresh air along the bridge. He smells that idyllic scenery. And he looks to you, Marius.
So, did we kill him?
He imagines that they had a fight and that he just got knocked unconscious and that somehow we escaped with our lives.
No, we did not. Nor do I think we will. We made it out of there. He slammed you up against the wall with his claw. How do you feel?
It's an odd experience. Not good, but right all at the same time. Whole, you know. It's
Sure.
it's gonna take a while for me to. Yeah.
And he's trying not to get sentimental. He's trying not to, like, you know, have those feelings right now. That flurry of feelings going through his body.
What is it that he did to you?
And he stands up at full height.
Whoa, wait a second. How many fingers am I? He's like, Manger goes through this thing where he's like, how many fingers am I holding up? And like, what's your name and what year is it?
4. You still have an ugly ass beard. And yes, we're alive. What does it matter what day it is?
You
Don't
could
ask
have some
me
sort of
stupid-
internal injury, you stupid idiot. And he'll just like,
don't
slap
ask
him on
me
the snout.
stupid questions, you bastard.
I'm just making sure you're okay. Get up.
Okay.
And he looks to Lise.
It's how do I explain it? You elves, humans, all you other races. Imagine you believe in a heaven or hell or whatever that is. Yeah. Well, imagine if a dragon had the power to yank your soul pretty much out of you. That's pretty much what he did. I was an empty shell. Now I have everything back. So it's
And he like he still has some twitches here and there.
it's gonna take some getting used to. But I'll be all right. I kind of like it. Yeah. I kind of like it.
What is the
I'm
meaning
at-
of this? A voice echoes from across the bridge. You see that there is a tall brass or dragonkin standing at the far side of the bridge, yelling at you. The one that you recognize, the one that intercepted and captured you all. It is Taaldarax. His glaive is still in his hand, and he's looking at you sort of with a wary eye.
Texas holds up a claw. His left claw with the silver dragon talon.
So it's all right. It's all right. Stand down. Yes. He just Taaldarax.
And he looks to the others for confirmation because he doesn't remember. He realizes, like, in that moment that he doesn't remember and why the hell is he talking. But he just assumes that brass dragonborn to brass dragonborn, like, I'm gonna try to be mediator, and then he stops midway, still hand held up in a halt formation.
It's fine.
Your great protector let us leave.
Is that so?
It must be
Well-
so, otherwise we would not possibly be here.
And his eyes sort of are just like fixed on you all, and then he says, I gave my word. I swore that I would keep you safe in my care. Marius, you remember that you'd made him swear. You'd made him say that, whilst you were here, he's your responsibility to look after you. And he says, I will be true to my word. Come. And he sweeps his tail and starts walking back across the bridge, leading you into the citadel.
Rob, just to clarify, all of Tax's memories that he remembers, we don't know any of that, right?
No, unless he cares to share it with you. I'm guessing more and more will come out as we go. But yeah, you didn't see that. That was basically Tax's memories returning, yeah. So unless you have any objection, he's going to lead you somewhere into the citadel. Okay. So Taaldarax is sweeping his tail, and he still has that kind of very, very proud way of moving around. And you see Dragonkin around you as you enter this citadel once again, sort of giving almost double takes as you are now walking back from the Horde lair. You're back in the citadel, and people didn't really think that was going to happen. And Taaldarax is sort of self-importantly making a point of walking through people rather than around them, just showing off what he's what responsibilities and what honor he has. You can see that this is something that is very much prized among these people. And he says, I shall lead you to my quarters. You shall rest there. You find yourselves going up some stairs. The corridors look as if they've been burnt that way. Everything has been shaped and melted into form in this place. Still all one mountain, essentially carved into this incredibly unique structure. And it is not long before you're in this kind of eerie, almost, this very open sort of tower that sort of hangs from one side of the citadel, with openings that completely fall away from the side of the castle itself. Like, it's completely open. Taaldarax, with a snort, breathes fire into a brazier in the center of the room. You can see it's a very humble place, very Spartan. You see weapons upon the wall. You see your weapons upon the wall. Correction, as he took them from you, and all sorts of different oddities. A number of brass things as well, like brass plates and cups dotted about. And with that, he then just walks to the far end of the room and perches on the very edge, like a gargoyle almost, just overseeing and looking out into the horizon. And he says, make yourself at home.
Taxes is probably the first to speak up. He's quiet for a moment. He analyzes Taaldarax. He's a brass Dragonkin. And to a certain degree, there is a kinship there, regardless of how he looks now. And Taxes walks up to Taaldarax and says,
So, I'm not much for small talk. But since we got time here, how long you been here?
And Taaldarax shoots you a quizzical look and says, all of my days I have dwelled within Daggerfang.
Uh-huh. Yeah. All of your days.
Since I was a hatchling and breathed into life.
Daggerfang. Yeah.
And it's almost like Tax is with this renewed information in his brain. He also has a tendency to realize that dragons are cunning. Dragons are crafty. That if the Great Protector wanted to, the Great Protector could very well have given Taxes any memories that he wished. Any memories that he wished to see fit, he could have crafted into his mind. And so there's a moment where he looks at Taaldarax of his old hunters, the hunters of his horde. And he doesn't remember the name Taaldarax. It's not a name that was given to any of his horde. But he just wants to try something, and he sits down and he crosses his legs near the fireside. And he merely looks to Taaldarax and says,
Seta, oh Seta, brother.
Trying to see if it will initiate some sort of response from his brass blood.
And the Dragonkin responds, which means essentially he's acknowledging the old saying. This is something wise that has been passed down through his people for generations.
Good. So I know it hasn't been lost. Even if you aren't one of mine.
You are wingless.
Yeah. But when'd you get wings?
He looks at his own vast wings. Probably a span, 12 foot, maybe more. A big. You are wingless, yet you have honor. You face the Great Protector. What is it you wish to do here? I have sworn for you, and thus my reputation.
Honestly, first it was find my memories. Regain what I'd lost. But now I want to leave with my family.
And he begins like a ceremonial situation, I imagine. Something very ceremonial. He sort of like stands up from his crouched position. He walks around Taaldarax's room, kind of searching for items and bits and pieces here and there. A couple of bowls, a couple of things, maybe a pestle for grinding something. He begins to set them in front of him, in front of the fire.
How much do you know of the old ways? I mean, in your eyes.
As I understand it, our ancestors traveled here in search of enlightenment, salvation, and the Great Protector provided.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Good. That's wrong, but that's good.
How is it wrong, wingless? How is it wrong, runt?
Because before, I don't know if you're one of mine. You might not be, but long time ago I made a deal when I was a young idiotic, actually. I made a deal with your great protector. And I gave him my people to provide salvation. I was a fool then. I will not be a fool again.
And he begins to start a ritual, a very simple ritual, but it's grinding this red clay stone, this dirt, this. I imagine that the floor is made out of stone and like burnt, mountain. And he carves up some and he pours it into this pestle and he begins to grind it.
And as you're grinding away, if you're performing some kind of ritual, I was going to say it's going to take you a few moments to sort of get the stuff together you need.
Absolutely.
So the rest of you sort of in this area, you just hear this exchange between Taxes and Taaldarax, and it's really confusing. It's also very aware at the back of all of your minds that Taaldarax the Great Protector had stated that Taxes' people were dead. They died thousands of years ago. It's something that he openly said to you. And also, you are aware that you are on a strict time limit. Night will soon fall, and you're going to have to return to that dragon and state your terms, and hopefully walk out of this place in one piece. We'll see. So you have to make some plans, and out of game, this is entirely down to you. You are in charge of what goes on here. So, Lise, what are you doing, and what do you think? Well, yeah, just tell me what you're doing and what you're thinking.
So Lise has probably sat down just on the floor, cross-legged, maybe near Xorvintaal, kind of making snide remarks to him. I thought he didn't remember anything. And she's beginning to pull out some of her things, maybe to start writing down a little bit, and she's just going over in her head possible permutations, ways they can get out of this and not die, ways they could make an ally with the Dragonkin without having the dragon himself come to their world. What options do they have?
And I think Xorvintaal would listen intently and agree with every point that you make. So you're right. We could bring the Dragonkin, but not the dragon. And he turns and he says, I imagine in these moments in between while Taxes is getting his bowls ready, he would turn to Marius and he'd say, Marius, how do you think the Mountain Guard are faring in Kilgannon? I know that they've established a garrison there, but it must be difficult for true warriors like you, to sit idle while they know that there are conquests to be had. It must weigh on them heavily. And he'll sort of give a sidelong wink at Marius.
Nothing is crueler, I find, than having a great warrior, a true and honorable warrior, have to sit around and be useless in guard duty. I mean, that is not the path of a warrior as I see it. It is not the path that I have chosen for myself. I really think that if you are any kind of warrior, that you would go on any sort of quest that demanded of you excellence and perfection.
It is true. And even in these dark times in our world, it must be somewhat of a blessing for this mountain crown. For I imagine for generations they have just sat idly by and watched the farmers of the world and the miners ply their trade while their sword arms grow weak. And it must be difficult.
And there is only so much perfection and so much glory that you can get from practice and from hitting targets and from fighting against dummies and from sparring against your partners. Not the true glory of blood and steel. Ah, those poor men.
You look across the room and you just see this Dragonkin who has his back to you, and then you just see his head just do this. As if, yeah, you've got his attention and he's listening to you.
And imagine what it must be like. Here they live in this utopia where their great protector, this god, is genuine and so kind and so helpful. But our world, there is something else, some great evil to overcome, some terrible foe that must be faced. Ah,
There are hardships here that you would not know of.
indeed, guarding all the farmers, is it?
He growls and rears himself up to full height.
I have once been a guard in my life, and I found it quite challenging until I became a warrior.
This Dragonkin just looks at you with the fury of ages. And he walks right up to you, Marius, this thing that's easily 2 feet taller than you are, and he looks down at you and he says, "There are hardships here that you would not even know of. Thing."
Tell me.
He comes from that comes from the back, as Taxis is still sitting cross-legged.
We live in
attaining
an
this
unbalanced
spiritual-
society. We have to serve those of the red scales.
And you can almost hear Taxis audibly snort.
You're shitting me, right? You serve a fucking chromatic? You're a
It has always
brass.
been the way.
Yeah, I know. I know. But let me ask you a question. I know you feel it. It's in your blood. You're a brass. It's in there.
And he's still sitting cross-legged, attaining to his own stuff, but not moving and just saying these words.
It's in your blood. You feel it. That wanderlust. You're itching, aren't you? Taaldarax. How long has it been since those wings actually beat?
And he looks down. Daggerfang. It is a world that we all beat our wings in. But there has always been a voice that if you listen carefully enough, when the stars shine, a voice calling to us. And he
What's that
turns
voice
and he looks
saying to
down.
you?
Sorry, go ahead.
What was that?
Sorry, I didn't hear what you said because I think we spoke at the same time. What did you
yeah.
say?
I just said, what is that voice saying to you? Because you said there was a voice.
It is calling us home.
And he nods at that, and he, grins.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then he puts out the bowls that have now been ground, and they've been kind of charred in different colorations. One a very bright red, another a very charred black, other variations of red and brown. And he begins to take his claws and then just start etching into the ground before him.
Yeah. You feel it, don't you? That voice in the back of your skull. They're right, you know.
And he stands up at his full height. And below him, you see this image that he crafted out of this mountain dust. And it's an image of brass Dragonborn riding along mountainsides. And in the middle of this mountainside, there is a temple. Vast, beautiful temple carved out of the rock and the mountain itself, with large brass draconic statues. And it's almost like the detail isn't there because his claws are only so big. But you can get the image. And he points down.
Whether you like it or not, your blood of my blood.
And he nods. I am sworn to you. I'm honor bound to help you now, to ensure no harm will come to you. A vow I will take to the letter. What is it you wish to achieve here? And I shall see it done.
And he looks to the rest of the people, the rest of his crew in the room.
These are my brothers. My sister. Even though we just met. She hasn't wanted to kill me yet. And in dragon culture, I suppose that's enough. These are my clan. But I want my history back. I want my people back. So here's what I want from you. I can see the pain in your eyes, Taaldarax. You want to hunt again. You want to be a warrior, don't you?
And he looks at you up and down with this armor, like this Arthurian armor and this large glaive. And he scoffs at you.
You've forgotten the old blood, haven't you? You don't need this.
And he like smacks his hand against the metal.
You don't need that.
And he like almost goes to like swipe the glaive away.
These are all you need to hunt. That's it. That and your instincts. So I'm going to ask you something. What do your instincts tell you that voice is?
It is home. We are not accustomed to speaking about it in the company of our leaders. The Red Keen.
Listen, this is very touching, Marius says. I'm sure this is very important to you, Taxes, and to you, Taaldarax. We're facing almost certain annihilation if we don't have a plan by the time we go speak to the Great Protector, and that is coming quickly. And we can figure this out later. Taaldarax, what we need from you is you and your people, your bronze people, who seem to be the nicer of the two people who live here, to come with us, to come home with us and help us battle a real evil and help us by standing as true warriors in the face of what we have to face. And maybe that's where your home is. Who knows? That's not important to me. What's important to me is saving the world and not being burnt alive.
It is what my people would want, I'm sure. We have oft talked about it. But the power that... And he sighs, realizing that he is going to have to say this. The power that we face is insurmountable. The Great Protector, his reach is far.
We don't have to kill him, Taaldarax. I don't think that's possible. What we do have to do is convince him that it's possible, that this is a good idea. That he would send some of his, in his eyes, I'm sure, pathetic, lesser, bronze Dragonkin with us. We would tell him that we would show those Dragonkin great memories and amazing things to see, and then simply not return.
You seek to deceive him.
Yes.
Yep.
It cannot be done. He sees all.
So we don't deceive him now. We tell him the truth, that we will take you there, and that we will show you great memories. Perhaps we neglect to mention that you will return.
And what of the Red Keen? What of Red Mirror?
He obeys the Great Protector, no?
He does.
Everyone does. So all we need to do is convince the Great Protector. The Red, are they warriors too, Taaldarax?
They are. Red Mirror, he possesses a power like none other, however. He is of the old kind, one of the first. They say he battled in the first days of Xorvintaal. They say he cannot be killed.
Forgive my ignorance, but dragons in the tales are known for their great conquests. They are tyrants who overthrow the lesser races. Is your Great Protector content to sit here in his realm with his taxes? Does he derive what he needs from these memories that are taken? And what does he do with them? Does he ruminate upon them or look back at them like a lesser dragon gazing on the gold of his hoard? I don't understand.
I would not presume to assume how he thinks, or what the Great Protector dwells upon. But I know this. Everything that he desires comes to him. It has always been the way. You approve of this, and he points to Taxes. Sorry, Lise, go ahead.
Lise kind of looks over at Azrax. It does not matter what he does with them, only that if we can understand the balance of their society and of their world, then we can tip it in our favor. And we can bring these bronze dragonkin back with us.
I agree. And I agree with what you said earlier. The Great Protector cannot return with us. But
I don't think that he can return with us. I don't think it's within his power to return with us, or else he would have come a long time ago. Marius said, why would he stay here with this fake sort of play area that he's created for himself? All these little dragon people. Why would he stay here when there's a huge world out there with way more people and much more interesting things happening and magic and sorcery and eons of history? Why would he stay here in this tiny little rock fortress when he could be there?
Texas
How long?
nods to that.
How long? How long has he been here?
I mean, my understanding is long enough for the Dragonborn to turn into these things.
Rob, would my knowledge and culture have any stories of a dragon like this? Or would that be even before the time of my people?
That is a good question. You can make me a knowledge roll of some type. Or let me think. To be honest,
Whatever it is, it's
I
a
don't
natural
think you
20.
would. Okay. In that case, that's tricky. Okay. So you are okay. I'll say this: the one thing that people do remember, the one thing that is sung across the ages, is that the way that dragons would fight each other is through Xorvintaal, the Great Game, where they would draw assets and control all other beings under their power to fight their wars for them. And Taaldarax claims that he is the winner of such. He is the victor of Xorvintaal. He is supposedly the greatest. So you know that about this kind of dragon that you're dealing with, but you're not sure what this means, and you're not entirely sure, like what Mary says, why this dragon would be here. You know, what's stopping him from going to the other side?
If he hasn't returned, I agree with you, Marius, but perhaps there is something keeping him from doing it, like a magical barrier or an anchor of some kind. Or maybe there's a reason within his psychology that he doesn't leave. Maybe there's something that he's afraid of. And if he is a player of this great game, Xorvintaal, we cannot beat him at it. But maybe we can play our hand in a way that he thinks he has won.
The greatest
Maybe
weakness.
we
Sorry.
offer our forces, our armies, to fight for him, with his armies, against what it is that he fears. But we must find that out. If we do not know what he wants or why he cannot leave, we cannot bargain.
Seems to me the greatest weakness of a thing that is invincible and insurmountable is the very fact that they are invincible. They don't see threats where they should. They don't see danger where they should, because even if we were somehow to inconvenience him, he still lives for 1 billion more years. But we don't. We only need a little window of his eternal life in which to trick him.
Agreed. But how do we bargain when we do not know what our adversary desires?
What about Grim? Maybe he knows. I mean, the telling would have been around back then. It's always been around, surely. Maybe he knows something.
If I
Grim,
had
get your
ears,
ass
they would-
out here.
If I had ears, they would be burning. Grim's voice says from Azrax's pack. What do you need?
I beg your
Azrax.
pardon.
Oh, sorry.
Your book is talking.
Yeah.
His name is Grim.
Don't ask questions. Just follow along. It's easier that way.
Words to live by.
I knew you had a book, but... Oh dear.
Who wants to
Xorvintaal.
do introductions?
Continue. I
Xorvintaal
will-
turns to the brass Dragonborn. Sorry, I'm sorry. Did I cut you off? Please go.
No, not at all. No, I'm just laughing. Go on.
If anyone was to find out about this that I'm going to show you, it would be the death of us all. You understand? You would be breaking your word. So you are beholden to not speak of this to anyone. He pulls out Grim. Okay. Well, Grim, did you hear what we were saying? Do you have any insights on this matter?
He's sorry. Grim pauses for a second, and as you sort of have opened him, you can see on a new page it is writing chapter 13. And then something you've only ever seen happen once before. The ink seems to almost look like blood, as Revenge of the Dragonborn becomes the chapter. Don't you want revenge, Taxes? Isn't it time that we all stopped being victim to these so-called greater powers?
Is this Grim saying this?
Yeah.
Grim,
Yes.
what are you talking about?
Aren't you tired of it? Don't you want to make him pay?
Taxes thinks for a long time. He says nothing in the silence of the room.
This is poor counsel, even for a book.
Especially for a book that has been through all of the journeys that we have been through, and countless ones before that. A book that has a direct connection to all of the stories that ever were. How can we possibly?
There are more ways to seek revenge than killing. Think of him as a prey. Anything you hunt. We stalk him. We learn him. We use his weakness against him. And in
We
my
don't have-
opinion, Grim, time, by my standards,
And he looks to you, Lise.
this dragon has all the time in the world.
But we do not. You do not have the luxury to sit and to wait and to stalk and to figure out whatever it is you want for some complicated, intricate plan of revenge. We must decide what is best. We must decide quickly, and what must be for the best interest of the world we have left behind, not your own.
He looks at you and like angrily snarls his teeth.
Would it not be a very sweet revenge if this big dragon bastard woke up the next day to find all of his bronze dragons gone? That seems to me particularly biting in a form of revenge and rebellion. And if it's true that he cannot follow us to where we're going, he'd have to just stew on that forever.
Taxes thinks for a minute.
You're right, we don't have time to stalk our prey. But Xorvintaal, you said something about finding what he wants. So, I say we promise to give it to him. I take back what I want, what I need from him. I give my people life again, and I let him rot in his cell that he's created.
Sounds reasonable to me. I think what we need to do is convince him that he doesn't need these bronze ones, that we can take some of them with us, or all of them even, or at least enough of them. And that their combined memories in the war that we are going to fight against a creature that exists in a different dimension that is made directly of stories, that'll be worthwhile, and we'll send them back after. And then we just don't send them back. Or maybe we tell them to and they don't go. We've held up our end of the bargain. The most appropriate kind of correct when dealing with a dragon is technically correct.
He'll want something in return, Grim says. He'll want more.
And Taxis says,
I know a dragon who wronged us.
and he looks at Marius, and he looks to Azarax.
I know a particular green dragon who wronged us. At the end of the day, a dragon for a dragon doesn't sound so bad.
We don't want to give this dragon knowledge of the telling and knowledge of Advent and knowledge of all these things. We don't want him involved if we can avoid it. And Weaver, of everyone, knows the most about that. We want Taaldarax to realize too late that he made a deal that maybe isn't as beneficial to him as it seemed. If we give him Weaver, then... well, I don't know.
We're not giving him Weaver. He wronged us, maybe. He lied to us, yes, but through it all... I mean, do you really not think he was doing what he thought was right at the time? No. We're not giving him Weaver. Take that piece off the board.
I have lots of memories that I would like to get rid of.
What is this game? Xorvintaal? Am I saying it right? What is it called?
Xorvintaal, the great game, Grim says.
And what are the stakes of the game? The winner is he or she who accrues the most, the largest...
The dragon with the largest amount of power. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. The dragon with the largest amount of power. Okay.
Think of it like chess. Every territory is a new space. Every knowledge is a new move. That's what he seeks to do. This Taaldarax seeks to be the last, the king. He claims he is the victor of Xorvintaal. Something tells me that he's not the only one left. So I doubt he really is.
How many Dragonkin have we seen in and around this place, Rob? Do I think hundreds, thousands, more?
So of the brass, hundreds, and you haven't seen as many red Dragonkin, but that isn't to say they aren't about. But speaking of the devil and they will appear, 2 red Dragonkin sweep into the room, adorned in armor, weapons in their hands. And one says, Taaldarax, you have been summoned. You and those that you have sworn for are to accompany us immediately. Redbirds. And as they say that, we're going to take a short break to say hello and welcome to Performance Check. This is Lawkeepers Chapter 13, Revenge of the Dragonborn. My goodness me, this is a quandary. This is one big old problem that I'm absolutely loving, just dropping in front of you guys and watching you try and work out. We're going to do our quick introductions and then we're going to have a short break. To begin with, Chad, why don't you say hello first?
Hello there, guys. My name is Chad. I have a YouTube channel, Chad Nick. I love this thing, and I'm playing Taaldarax the Dragonborn. I got nothing more to say other than I love this family. Like, this is like, I'm gonna cry right now. And we're only halfway through the session. So yeah, no, thank you guys so much in this. This is so cool. I'm jazzed and I'm done. Thanks.
Perfect. And Taylor?
I'm Taylor. I'm playing Saralise. This is a lot of fun, and I will be interested to see how particularly Taxes and Marius and Azarax, who do a lot of talking, talk their way out of this.
You've got to talk your way out of it too. You're in as deep as they are.
Oh no, I'm just the tag along.
Lloyd?
Yes, it's been really fun. It's my preferred kind of game where there's just lots of talking and no clear answer, and it's soupy and vague, and I don't know what I'm supposed to do. That's the best kind of game, in my opinion. I love it. It's really fun.
Cool. And finally, Lorekeepers.
My name is Lorekeepers. I love playing in this game. I agree with Lloyd. I think it's a lot of fun trying to bullshit your way when you have no idea what the fuck you're talking about. It's good. And it's great. I love this crew. Like, every Lorekeepers game is just wonderful. So I'm having a blast, and I don't think any of us have any idea what the fuck we're going to do, and we're going to get thrust into it, and we're going to say some stupid shit, and it's going to be awesome.
I can't wait. So you've been summoned to Red Mirror, and we shall see what happens in a moment. Guys, take a 5-minute break, and we'll be back to see how this gets resolved, if it does. Oh my god. See you in a bit. Okay, hello everyone. So this is an interesting one. I really don't know what they're going to do, which is which is really cool. I absolutely love the idea of having conversations where if you say the wrong thing, you might die, which is pretty fun to run. Nerve-wracking as hell as well. So we have a few people watching. What would you do in this situation? For those in the chat, put it in the chat. And for those of you watching afterwards, I know obviously people watch this when it isn't live. At this point in the game, if you're watching this, put in the comments what you think you should do. Because I think it would be really interesting. I see Lloyd's back. I've just been talking about how I literally have no idea what you're going to do, and it's really fun.
Yep, it's my favorite. A problem with no solution.
Something stupid. That's what we're gonna do. Something stupid.
I think the plan is pretty. I think the plan is pretty good. I think like you can count on someone that powerful. Like if you just flatter enough and you like phrase it correctly, I think he'll be like, "Yeah, that seems reasonable." You know, like what's he got to lose?
He's probably like super bored. Like how bored would you be if you were like so powerful? Like someone comes up, even if it's a dumb idea, it's something different at least, right?
It's something different. That's a really good point. Yeah.
And if he's stuck here, and I think he is stuck here. If he's stuck here, then I mean something interesting at least.
Or there's something like way more badass than him that he's afraid of.
The God King.
He might be afraid of the God King.
I always thought the God King might be a dragon. It was always one of my.
He could be.
In my head canon, it was always an option.
That's why I was asking, like, when actually, Rob. I mean, if not, it's totally cool. But do you think that Xorvintaal could like maybe attempt a history check to try to like figure out like approximately the era and if there was any other big, earth-shattering event that happened at that time? Like, establish a timeline?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why not. You can always try.
All right. I mean, unless it's like prehistory or something, like you could say no, I won't be offended, but
it would be. It's just a very, very long time ago. So, but I mean, it's like me asking you a question about ancient Egypt. Would you maybe know about it? I don't know.
Probably.
In fairness, actually, that probably wasn't the best example. In that case, yeah, I'm more than happy to let you check by all means.
All right, here, let's do it. Hang on a second.
You just have to be specific as to what exactly you'd like to know.
Here we go. I got a magnifying glass and a dice tower now, so we're gonna see if this works. Can you see it? That's a 19 on the die.
Oh, nice.
Oh, I got a +7 to my roll too, so
that's amazing. Well, wait for
I
Chad
do
to get
know
back
stuff about ancient Egypt.
Ancient Egypt was a reason, yeah. Can you be really clear with me then, though, Chris? Because, like you say, I have to kind of be careful about this. So,
absolutely. So what Xorvintaal wants to know is he's trying to establish when the Dragonborn, when the dragon came to this realm, like if there was any other like huge earth-shattering event that caused the dragon to retreat to this realm. That's the question.
There's certainly, yes, I can definitely tell you all about that, and I will when chat gets back. So that's cool. Are there any other things that you sort of want to because you're being summoned at this point, so you're going to have to sort of be thinking on your feet. So is there anything that you want to know before you go and see Red Mirror?
So my question was kind of like, is my impression that this is the only part of this world where there are Dragonkin? Because that's where the Protector lives. So my impression is that there's like maybe a city worth, but like a small city worth of beings living in this world.
Correct.
Right. Compared
From what
to
you
the
can see, anyway.
right.
Yeah.
But compared to the billions that live in ours, there's like a very small amount of people who are all very loyal and all do exactly what they're told and live in this tiny little place. That's interesting. That's like good to know.
Yeah.
Like when I was at the top of that bridge, which is pretty high up, I didn't see any other like cities around.
No,
Okay.
just all sweeping landscapes and idyllic settings, just
Okay.
lush and beautiful. Yeah, it's an interesting one.
Hey, Robin,
It
on
is
that
weird.
point, as I heard, like I walked into the conversation, but on that point, are there any other colors other than red and like brass or bronze floating
No,
around?
there's only red and brass,
Okay.
which is peculiar. But as we're all back, we may as well get back into it. So these two towering red dragonkin are staring down and saying, "You have been summoned. Red Mirror would see you."
Oh, we have an appointment with the Great Protector, not too far from here.
This shall not take long, I am assured.
I used to like look at the rest of them like, okay, let's go.
Okay, so if without any objection, then you find you're being led back down the way you came and through to the massive sort of opening, the main sort of open hall of this vast citadel, sort of quite near the top of the citadel that you're in. You pass by once again all these dragonkin. You see the brass, generally speaking, all of lower rank. Occasionally, you'll see like a red dragonkin. You see far below. You see that as this thing opens up, you can see all the way down, and you can see those dragonkin that were mounted upon drakes, sort of patrolling and things like that. And eventually, you reach a chamber. They heave open these doors, and there's no light coming from within other than sort of like a red hue. Before you see a large set of stone stairs that lead up, and as you are led up, you see this kind of plinth, this flat sort of flooring with this kind of igneous look about it. And you see, standing before you, is Red Mirror, this gigantic red dragonkin, his back to you, his wings folded. You see on his side he has what looks to be a large mace, and on his other side a large flail. But what's most interesting to you is that there are 1, 2, 3 ginormous red eggs in the room with him. And they kind of have this kind of weird half opaqueness to them where you can sort of see the silhouette of something through it, but what you can't quite tell. And he turns as you enter and he says, "Taaldarax, you have done as I have asked. Good. You may wait outside." Taaldarax looks like he's about to argue. And then he looks at...
We would much prefer... We'd much prefer if Taaldarax stayed with us. He has sworn an oath to ensure our safety. We would feel a lot more comfortable if he was here with us.
Agreed.
We are, in fact, guests of the Great Protector.
You can tell that this refusal bothers Red Mirror. You can see his eye twitch as he looks upon you, and then he turns and he says, I suppose it is not without consequence. Very well, he can stay. Tell me. What did the Great Protector have to tell you? It is within the best interests of our people that we know.
Well, then I'm sure that he would tell you if it was appropriate.
An audience with the Great Protector does not come around often, and this is a matter of immediacy.
He told us to return at nightfall.
I have not encountered your kind for a long time. He sort of addresses, seems to be all of you. But it is pathetically predictable that you remain staunchly the same.
Are your kind given to dramatic shifts in how they act? My impression is that your kind are similar to each other. There tends to be a sort of uniformity.
It is the way we live.
Impulsive mood swings. Yeah.
I would like to make one thing clear. If you disrupt our way of life here, that would be unfortunate for you all.
And Marius looks to Azarax. That's odd. I mean, that sounds to me, Azarax, suspiciously like a threat. And surely no one here in this culture would threaten those who have been brought directly to speak with the Great Protector. It must be a cultural misunderstanding or something.
I'm sure it is a difference in potentially the language barrier. No, it could not have been what he meant.
You are correct. It is not a threat. Is it a promise? It is a promise that if you undermine our ways here, you shall pay for it.
Redmere, forgive me, but it seems that you have misinterpreted our reason for coming here. It is not to threaten your way of life. It is to, to offer your Great Protector a great boon. One which we would be happy to share with you, but unfortunately, as is the custom of our people, it would be rude for us to tell you before we tell him.
And he looks down and then he looks at you directly in the visor, Azarax. And he doesn't say anything. But over his shoulder, you see one of the eggs crack.
Are these your young, Redmare?
And he smiles and he says, if you do as you say, then you'll be glad never to find out. Very well. I shall be waiting for you when you return from the Great Protector. And I shall be most intrigued to discover the result.
Redmare, you're the oldest, no, of the Dragonkin?
It is true.
Then I have a question for you, a curiosity of mine. Our stories don't tell of the Great Protector being in our world, ever. There's no mention of him. In your memory, has he been to our world?
You speak of the base material plane.
Yes, or the Prime, as some people might call it.
The audacity. Yes, I have been there. I was born there.
But what about the Great Protector? In your memory, has he been there?
Indeed. He has.
But he must have gone disguised or something. Surely something so grand and powerful and enormous would have been noticed by our scholars.
And that comment really, really, really bothers him. You can see it on his every scale. You can see the tendrils that look like dreadlocks sort of almost stand on edge almost. And he takes 1, 2, 3 steps forward towards you, towering over you. Exactly. And he says, "The Reign of Chaos," it was called. The time of destruction and war. It was a good time.
This is when the Great Protector won the great game, is that right?
Incorrect. He had triumphed long before, well into the Third Age.
I see. And it seems to me, for we have traveled around, that not only did he win the great game, but he obliterated the opponents. For as far as we know, there are no more players in the game.
Please, everyone, do an insight check. Is that a natural?
No, 16 plus 4.
Okay. Those are all excellent rolls, but Lise, you pick up on this first. The 26, nicely rolled. And when Azarax says to Red Mirror, "Oh, when you triumphed, when you won," there is the smallest flinch. And he says, "Enough! I've bandied words with you long enough. I know all that I need to at this point. I shall be waiting for you when you return."
It's been an honor to make your acquaintance, Red Mirror, and I wish good health for your young.
And he just says, "You are blind." And he nods to to his 2 guards.
As he says, "You are blind." It's almost like Tax's grins as he's passing, and he says in like brash draconic, "Saluseta, oh Seta." He shakes his head as they pass.
And silently he watches you as you leave. Taaldarax, who had remained quiet for the time being, has a strange look on his face, and he looks to you and he says, as the doors close and you begin walking away, "I have never seen him like that. Often he preaches and he gives word of how our kind must live. But something that you said to him, he seems unsure. He seems afraid. I can smell it. Perhaps he
They
has
lost.
lived too long." Sorry,
They
Taylor.
lost. Azrax, when you spoke to him about the game, they lost. He's not here because he won. He's here because he lost.
Fled or banished.
So we offered him a chance to, without saying so, but we have to offer him a chance to reclaim his a victory in the great game, right? To advance. But who did he lose to? When was it? Isaac starts counting on his fingers, trying to recall anything about that time. Now, Rob, with the history check that I rolled before, would this jog any memories?
So, from what you understand, and reports vary as to the nature of the Reign of Chaos, as is the running theme throughout the world that you live in. History is written by the victor. So tales are very much in conflict as to what happened within the Reign of Chaos, the time when the God King descended allegedly onto the world and sought to unify the land into 9 kingdoms. You know that present were the Lawkeepers, you know present were the Dragonborn, you know present were the Drow, the Moon Elves, the Eladrin, and there are stories of dragons that fought for supremacy at that time. And that definitely seems to add up.
The Lorekeepers were around then?
Towards the final days, yeah. They
So
would
there
have been
should-
relatively new, but yeah, they were around in the 3rd era.
There should be some mention somewhere in the telling then of this. We should be able to see it somehow.
Perhaps.
I think that, are we going back to Homeboy's crib, the Airy? Do we have time?
You have a couple of homeboys.
I have a bunch of notes and I was like, Calrax, there's the guy, that's him.
You have, I'm going to say, you have I'll roll a d4. Actually, no. Licorice, why don't you roll me a d4? That'll be how many hours that have gone by. Yeah, you'll have had a total 8 hours, so whatever's left.
I rolled a 1.
Oh, shit. Okay, you have 1 hour.
We don't have much time. Let's consult with Grim and make our final plan. In Homeboy's crib.
I'll say I'm just over an hour because I actually feel a bit bad leaving it to a dice roll. So you have a bit more. Let's say you have 2 hours. Why not? But you have time to make your final plan. So off you go, guys. Up to you.
Okay, so 2 possible plans. One of them is that we quietly and sort of dance around the point of threatening the fact that we know that there are eggs here. And that's not something that he wants fucked with. And that obviously somewhere in the Prime that there is a dragon bigger and badder. And we can be like, hey, listen, man, we just want to borrow some of your dudes. We'll give you all these nice memories in return, when we send them back. What we can do is we can suggest that, like, we'll give you all these cool memories that you can share with your new children when they're born. Something like that. Maybe that'll just have him be like, that seems reasonable. Although probably he'll just burn us, so I don't know.
It makes sense, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. I feel like we need to give him something tangible. We need to give him something that will allow him to save face for what we are assuming was a great loss in the great game. Now, I don't know what that is, but it seems to be, if it, it is a game of conquest and a game of war, it would have to be territory or soldiers. But I had a thought we could capture the Silver Guard and give them over, but that does not sit right with me. I don't know.
Well, what can we offer him? I mean, the memories are something that he can't have, that he can't get. We could bring him things from the material as a reward, things he might not be able to get here. Could bring him back a female dragon, if we could find one.
His pride is his weakness, yes?
Certainly.
We can perhaps offer him, if he wishes to not appear weak, the chance to send the lesser bronze with us for such an insignificant foe as we face on the material plane that we are too weak to handle ourselves. If he admitted it was something powerful, something that he ought to handle himself, he would be admitting that he could not return.
Yeah, we need to imply that we know that, but not straight out say it. We need to imply that we know that he has kids here and not straight up say it. We need to imply that we know that he can't come back because someone will kick his ass, but not tell him that.
What about a colony? A colony for the brass Dragonborn. This would be a place that would be of his ownership. This would be territory that he would belong to him, assuming he's too afraid to go there himself.
And it's almost like Taxes snarls at that.
You give them the brass homeland.
He thinks about
We
it.
would give it to the brass Dragonkin.
And we would tell Taaldarax that it belongs to him.
He would have no sway over it if it's in the material plane.
We could suggest that he send a red with them to oversee it. That sounds interesting to me. If I was him, I would see that as an opportunity to scout our world and see what his enemy is up to.
Fine. We make the offer. But if he damages, if he comes back from this hole, I will make it my purpose to defend my home. Do you understand me?
Taxes, if you want to throw your life away trying to fight a creature that is 100 times your size, then you can do that. This is better for your people than where they are now. They will not be living directly under Taaldarax. They will have their own place in our own world. So make ridiculous threats if you like.
I'm just angry. I get it.
Right, but it doesn't help anybody. Get together.
Texas, it's a good thing. Your people would be out of this land. There is splendor here, but they're beholden to their masters. Think about it. Not only would they have a place to live, they would have allies with the people of Freedom Salvation, with the Drow. It seems like a good move. Besides, in history, there have been plenty of colonies. He looks
to the two of you. He sighs, but then he looks to between all of you. He says,
I knew there was a reason you became part of my clan.
He looks to Marius.
You're the warrior. Strategic warrior, not headstrong like myself.
And then he looks to Azrax. And he says,
And Azrax, you remind me more of Alatu than you know.
You hear a voice. It's Grim. And he says, ever since I've been here, I felt strange. And it's something that Taxis said earlier. I get the impression that something is still hidden from us. It's like it's on the cusp of my understanding. There's part of this story that is missing. And it's affecting me. The mind goes back earlier to when Grim uncharacteristically called for revenge. And looking from your position, where you are in this eyrie, you see the sun. That's always looked a little strange. It looks a little different to the sun that you're used to. And it's slowly beginning to dip beneath the horizon. You don't have long. So I'm going to ask you all final preparations. Anything else that you want to commit to or ask before the bargain begins?
Taxes sort of looks to the three of them.
Look, I'm not thinking straight. I'm thinking with emotions and not logic. I need the three of you to help me. What's the plan? And this time I'll follow it. This time I'll listen.
Grim speaks up and he says, Taxes, you were there when Azrax had to lead us into the Underdark. And Azrax trusted you. You helped him. Taxes, you were there when Marius was put on trial by the witch hunters. And he trusted you. You were there when, and he pauses, Card. When Card had to defend his people. And he trusted you. We'll be here for you.
Just maybe leave the talking to us. He'll say, and he'll like clap Taxes on the shoulder.
Lisa's just kind of idly talking slightly half to herself and half to Azrax. If there are eggs, do you think there's a female dragon?
I've read a great many books, but none on the physiology of dragons. I don't know. You would think so. I mean, but I don't know how long it takes to hatch. I don't know how old they are. I wish I could be of help. It's the right question to ask, but I have no answer.
What is the most fearsome thing to encounter? What is the worst thing you can possibly do in the wild? But come between a mother and her children. Just a thought.
And a good one, too. either there is a female dragon here somewhere, or those eggs have been waiting to hatch since the reign of chaos.
Or there's a dragon out there so powerful that the only bargaining chip this dragon has is hostages.
They were red, the eggs, right?
They were, and they were sort of stood up, and they were, well, what do I scale them to? Red Mirror was standing next to them, and they're roughly the size of him, so yeah. And they were red.
Okay.
Lise, you're right. And why would Red Mirror make a show of it? He could have met us anywhere. He wanted us to see those eggs. In a...
There are,
No, you go ahead. You go ahead.
there are politics and games and webs being spun here that I do not understand.
Taxes. The Red Mirror is Dragonborn, but different than you. His size, his stature, something's different about him.
And that he racks his brain for a bit.
It's... I don't know how to explain it. I really don't. I imagine it's sort of an evolutionary thing. I'm a Dragonborn, but these creatures have been here for ages. And they probably sat on their laurels for centuries listening to this bastard pontificate his power and his prowess. They follow him, even though they shouldn't. They probably just grew as he grew.
But could his lineage be traced back to a real dragon? Like an actual gigantic dragon? And if so, is there some question of bloodline? Because the Great Protector is a red dragon, but I mean, perhaps now, but originally not the only red dragon in the world.
Probably not. I don't know that far back. At least, not from what I can recall. There's a possibility of that, sure. I imagine that there's probably more than one dragon per color. They all probably fought it out during the Reign of Chaos, but other than Illumirash, I know nothing more. I know of Illumirash, they used to tell a tale of Illumirash, the Great Orator, when I was a child. But other than that, I know no other dragon that were alive.
The sun slowly dips behind the mountains. The last rays of light fading. And Grim says, "It's time."
Taxus looks back to the three of them and lets them go first. He wants to go first. Like, everything in his body is boiling and he wants to go first. He wants to see this Great Protector first and foremost. But he decides that it's smarter to allow counsel to go before you. As a leader, you don't always enter first. You allow your council to enter, and you allow your council to lead you to the right decision.
Just before we walk in there, Marius is going to stop Azrax for a second. He's going to like squeeze his shoulder. He's going to like mutter something and close his eyes. I'm going to cast heroism on Azrax so that he can't be frightened. And on myself. So use a second level spell slot to do that, just in case, because he didn't fare too well last time, and I figure we're going to need him at the top of his game.
Yeah, and you feel this this energy pour into you, Azrax, and you feel like you can do anything.
Absolutely. His posture stiffens, his shoulders go back, his long spider silk cape flaring behind him. He'll stride into that chamber. It's like nothing he's ever felt.
Yeah, you're all crossing the bridge, and Taaldarax is with you, and he says, "I shall await at the entrance." And he looks, and Red Mirror is standing there at the other side of the bridge, and silently is just watching you. You speak for our kind, Taaldarax. Taaldarax? Ooh, Taaldarax. All these dragon names, man. You speak for our kind, Taaldarax says. Thank you, and go with honor.
Go with honor, brother.
And he mutters some words to you under his breath, but we'll go into what those were a bit later. You find yourselves in that same walkway stacked with gold, treasure. Azrax, as you're walking, you kick something with your foot and it jangles across the treasure. It looks a little bit different to a number of the things that you're seeing, mostly mundane gold. I think mundane, it's gold, but just rusted gold. But you see a strange pearlescent sphere about that big roll across the floor as you're walking in. And the temptation is there once again.
I imagine that there's the briefest of flash of blue energy behind the visor of Veritor as he casts Detect Magic.
Immense amount of magical power is radiating from this small pearl.
Oh man, this is a horrible idea. He knows. He completely understands the weight of the situation that we're in. But he does not know fear. He is completely unfettered by it. And so I imagine that as he walks up to Red Mirror, his voice is probably a little bit deeper as he speaks to him. And he says, "Truly, this is an auspicious day." His voice booming around the chamber. We stand on the precipice of a wonderful new alliance, and you, my friend, have helped to make it possible. I don't know why Azrax lost his accent there, but evidently he did. But his words echo around his chamber, the chamber, as a small, severed drow hand scampers after that orb. He's going to send his familiar after it.
Yeah, and it can easily acquire it. Yep.
Can I notice this?
By all means, all of you take a perception check.
Here, let me pull up that. Let's see here. Oh, jeez, I don't even know if I have stats for this motherfucker.
It'll just be your sleight of hand. It is still technically your hand, so. Why
All right,
not?
here we go. Sleight of hand. Okay, I got that. Do I? I hope so. Okay, I do.
I
Plus
suppose
6.
we
Here we
should
go.
probably roll for Red Mirror as well, just to see if he sees you
Jesus.
filching stuff whilst you're talking to him.
I'm gonna aid. I'm trying to aid my hand. I'm giving him the help.
You're giving yourself advantage. Yeah, very good.
I don't know if I can actually. I'm not next to it, so I don't think I can.
That's okay.
Well, that's a 10 on the die. I got a plus 6, so that's a 16.
So the good news is that you are too busy talking to Red Mirror, and he's too busy sort of watching you, and is too busy in the moment that he doesn't spot you take this thing with your severed hand. However, Lisa, you see a severed hand, a drowned severed hand, walking across the floor and grabbing a pearl and then skittering back to Azarax's side.
I think it's Taxes that sees
Oh,
it.
sorry, it is. Beg your pardon. Beg your pardon. Sorry, Taxes, you see this, so you'd be more than used to it. So you're used to him with his weird severed hand. So in that case, that's fine. And you have received an item of significant power. You find yourselves walking up this sort of spiraling corridor, still stacked with treasure. You see all kinds. You see this peculiar looking mirror. You see strange bits of artwork hang from walls. You see a resplendent suit of armor as well. It's sort of blackish green with a cloak that hangs from the back of it. It looks stunning. And it's sort of in this alcove, sort of as you walk in. And the chamber that you enter, the main chamber that makes up the most of this hollowed out mountain, is incredibly quiet. The green light of the miasma still beams down, giving this entire place a sickly kind of look to it. And then a vast shadow moves before it. You have returned. The voice echoes through the chamber. Taaldarax, the victor of Xorvintaal, glares down upon you, his every move shaking the hall around you. Are you ready to begin?
I think Taxes speaks up, as he's the last to walk in, but he speaks up.
Given the fact that I have received my memories and am emotionally compromised during this time, I will allow for my counsel to speak for me on my behalf.
And he takes a step back.
Very well. You received your memories. You know what you have lost. What was it, Tarnis? You may have received your memories, but everything that exists within them is gone. But very well. I shall speak with your counsel, he mocks. I have terms, as I'm sure as do you. I am the host. Etiquette would dictate that you should begin. Speak.
What is it you want from Taaldarax the Great Protector?
Oh, radiant. Oh, terrifying. Oh, glorious Taaldarax, we come to you with simple requests befitting insects such as we. In our home, the what was it that Red Mirror said? The prime, I believe he said, material plane. There, we fight an enemy that is far beyond our pathetic strength to defeat. And so we seek, above all else, assistance from the mighty warriors that you have sired. We have spoken with many of them, and it seems, to my understanding, that there's a sort of caste system going on. That the bronze, or the brass, forgive me, I'm a simple creature, I cannot tell the difference. Not the reds. They are the ones who are inferior, they are less important here. And so we thought, even though they are lesser than the reds, they are still more than a match for any warriors that we have back on our plane. And so we wished perhaps to ask you for their assistance and in turn give you a great gift. We thought perhaps you would allow them to come with us as a sort of mercenary force to defeat this evil. And when we have done so, we would provide to you a colony on our plane of existence. Now, of course, we are new to this place, but we can see how things work. We would obviously almost insist, oh, terrible one, that you send a red dragonkin to watch over these brass dragons, so they don't get any sort of ideas. They are still very much under your domain, and this new colony will be yours on our plane. That is the first of our requests.
Very well. I have heard what you have to say. The first of your requests. I'm sure there are many. A colony. What is the next?
Oh, inspiring, oh dreadful, oh mighty Taaldarax. It seems to me that there is a celebration to be had soon here in this realm. Red Mirror brought us before 3 eggs. Enormous and red. There's to be a celebration, I am sure, as we saw one of the eggs begin to crack. So the hatching cannot be far off. My second request would be that we get to see them born.
Oh, you will. But they are not mine. Anything else?
Oh, terrifying. Oh, radiant Taaldarax. There is a horde beyond here of jewels, of weapons, of artifacts, the kinds of which that I have never even heard of in stories. If we are to defeat this great evil and provide you with a safe colony, I would request, beg even, that each of us may choose one piece from that hoard to use in the war and then return to you afterwards with interest.
You want what is mine.
With respect, oh divine one, there is benefit to you in providing us with the tools we need to win. We will, of course, pay tribute to one such as you after we win the war, but it'll be much more difficult if we are not blessed with some of the, frankly, unique and amazing gifts that you have here.
You may by all means take something, but know I shall smell you wherever you go.
I would expect nothing less.
Are those your terms in completion?
One more, if I may.
Speak.
Our histories are, unfortunately, and to me, shockingly, lacking in stories of you, O Taaldarax. I now stand before proof of the divine, and yet, in all of the histories that I have poured through, I have not seen stories of you. My final request would be that you tell me how you achieved victory in the great game.
I have noticed many things about you since your arrival in my domain. And one is that you speak often of stories. I sense a power about you all. And it is a power I want to understand. So before I state my terms, why don't you tell me what that power is?
Glorious and radiant Taaldarax, surely you understand that that itself would be a term that you must present to us, for it is a bargaining chip that we hold. I would not expect you to provide us anything for free, nor can you expect us to provide you anything for free. We are negotiating, no?
I have suspicions, but I would like you to confirm them.
Then that can be the first of your terms, O glorious Taaldarax.
And it shall be. But I have others. My first term. I will keep the anchor.
Sorry, keep the what, Rob? I didn't quite get it.
The anchor.
Is that taxes?
Seems to be.
Okay.
Do you say anything, or are you just waiting for him to complete his thing?
I would wait for the rest. Marius would wait for all of them.
Absolutely. In that case, he will list them.
I would keep the anchor. I would have the power that you hide from me. And you speak of a colony. I remember your world. I remember how it was carved into 9. My colony would be far wide. Those are my terms.
If you'll allow us a minute to deliberate.
By all means.
So Marius would just do like a tries to huddle up.
Yeah, absolutely. What anchor?
It's me. He's got to be talking about me.
Firstly, we cannot provide him with the power that we hide. It's not in our power to give it to him. It's not possible. Secondly, he cannot keep taxes. Not possible either. And to declare far wide as his colony, we can agree to that. It won't happen.
Azarax will whisper in the minds of his allies and attempt to, if I may, Rob, just kind of, I know it's just a cantrip, but you can like send and receive messages, because legends have it that dragons have excellent hearing, and I don't want him to hear it. But please continue. I think that Azarax would agree, though, and he would say, well, these are negotiations, of course. When you go in to buy something from a merchant, you always pitch high and then meet somewhere in the middle. So, what of the vast wasteland to the south of Farwide? If I remember, there's a large area that is uncharted. This is probably the majority of the continent. And I would say, since we are not going to take his entire army, just a very small portion, that should suffice. His other terms, keep the anchor. No, he cannot do that. But perhaps we can concede some of our other terms.
It's possible. Would it be possible? I don't understand. Does the gate only remain open when taxes is near it? Well, it's not negotiable. We cannot leave him here. But perhaps there is a way that we can figure a way around it.
Grim speaks up and he says, there was mentioned that what happened with the Nightmare Shrine. Maybe that with taxes brought the world back. And maybe the door's open for everyone now. And he just doesn't know it.
That's true. I suppose we don't want him to realize that.
No. But what if we tell him that we will open the anchor perhaps, I don't know, one day a year, or...
once every 100 years.
Okay, this is better.
Every 101 years. That seems appropriately... all the stories of 101. That seems
Personally,
doable.
I would concede seeing the birth of a dragon. I don't have any interest in being fed to it.
No, I only threw that in there so we could get rid of it. I don't care about what a dragon being born looks like.
You have more brains than I give you credit for, Witch Hunter.
I'm handsome to boot.
Where did you go to have this conversation, just so I'm aware?
I would think out into like the antechamber where all the stuff is. And we're also using Azarax's brain meld.
Yeah, that's fine.
I mean, we can really concede everything but the army. I mean, I'm not saying we should, but I think that the eggs, I agree, are the first to go. Items with the horde is a pretty good idea. The tale of the great game would be wonderful, and perhaps give us some more bargaining power, but I fear that would be a future negotiation.
He's like looking around the horde, and he sees that suit of armor again, and he sees like this glorious sword over there, and like all these amazing things all over the place, and he thinks, I mean, I'm using a book as a shield. That is where we are at, and with equipment, it could make a huge difference.
Did you hear him earlier? When we asked if the eggs were his. He said no. He'd taken them from another. If we can find a way to alert whatever this mother dragon was, maybe she will come to Daggerfang and destroy him. But we need to get out first.
I agree. So we have to refuse the power. We cannot give that. We could bargain and say that we could give him a memory, a specific memory that we all share of Advent being born or a journey into the telling, something like that.
We could give him the story of Equinox, the one we all shared, the one we all walked through.
Only one of us
How
need...
Equinox was formed.
Exactly. Only one of us need give it, the others can remind.
Okay.
You know the origin of... Never mind.
Yeah, it's a long story.
Well, he looks to the other two that know the story.
Which one of us is it? I've already had my memory destroyed before.
No, it can't be you. You've lost too many memories already.
I could do it again, though. If it meant you were all safe, I could do it again.
Unacceptable. I won't allow it.
There's still something as well, Grim says. There's still something gnawing at me. There's still something that he hasn't told us. There's still some part of this.
What do you feel, Grim?
I feel like revenge. I feel like I want him to pay. Why do I want that? Why am I thinking that?
It's me. It's me. We're in this place, we're in this chamber, and to be quite honest, if I didn't have you all here, if I didn't have the potential of a horde again, I'd be taking my blades straight from Taaldarax's hands and stabbing them through the eyes. That red bastard. And you know what?
Calm down, Texas. Calm down.
But that's probably what you're feeling. My rage inside building up.
I don't know.
I don't think so. Grim has never felt like this before, and I have felt anger equal to yours. I'm sure that Xorvintaal has too, and he's never acted like this before.
Exactly.
Is this something hidden from the telling from the Reign of Chaos? This was about the time the Lorekeepers were founded, right?
Yes.
Grim, who were the first Lorekeepers? How were they made?
I don't think it's that. Taxes have all of your memories come back. I know that's a hard thing to account for. But is there anything?
And he closes his eyes. And he just takes a moment to sort of meditate. And Rob, would there be anything as he closes his eyes and he sort of like zens his way into like a calm state that memory would pop up and something would spark in him that would kind of give him this knowledge?
Yeah, playing over and over again in your mind, you once again see the shaman, his form almost silhouetted by the green miasma behind him. And it's almost like there's white noise as He is trying to explain something to you, but you can't quite hear what he's saying. Taaldarax held something back. And from the other chamber, you hear,
I'm waiting.
We have to go. He's already made one mistake, Marius. He said, when you asked the second terms to watch his eggs be born, he said, "Oh, you shall." He already agreed to those terms. Don't use it, but if you need a back door at the end, we can always concede that and renege on one of our terms.
Good. You tell him.
All right.
You do the next half.
No, I don't know. I think you should do it. You do it really well. You do so good.
So you enter back into the chamber. And Taaldarax, just from on high, just watches you. As you walk in, his neck craned like that, almost in anticipation. You see those thousands of teeth. An almost delighted grin as you arrive back.
Well,
Oh, fantastical and glorious. Taaldarax, we have some negotiating to do. The terms that we have asked for, in my impression, are far less costly to you than the terms you have asked for are costly to us. The colony, far wide, is not ours to give. It has a king. It has its own government. We cannot offer that which does not belong to us. What we can offer is the vast expanse of land south of Farwide. We can give you a colony there. That's what we will do. Secondly, in relation to the anchor, our friend, we cannot leave him here with you, but in exchange, we will offer this. Every 101 years, we will open the gate to this realm of Daggerfang, and we will treat with you. If not we, then our descendants. And thirdly, the power that you say we hide, it is not ours to give. It is not within our power to give. We have been chosen from on high, from a different place, and we cannot give it, for we did not seek it.
the colony I can accept, for it would give us room for expansion. You say you can open the gate every 101 years. How is it you wish to achieve this?
As I have said, O glorious Taaldarax, there is a power within us, a great power, a secret power, a power that we cannot explain to you, power that none who live know, bar us. And we do not fully understand it, but that power lets us do incredible things. And when we die, that power will be passed on, and we will write in the rock the oath that every 101 years the gate will be opened and a treaty will be made, negotiations will be made with the god of Daggerfang.
When you die, it'll be passed on. It seems to me that there is a source of this power. Like the book that you speak with.
Of course there is a source. All power has a source. You know this. But that source is not ours to control.
Or you can simply gift the book to me.
That is impossible. I'm afraid, O Taaldarax, that is non-negotiable.
So this is probably the first time this dragon has ever been told no. And he rears up into the air. The roar shakes the entirety of this place as I ask all of you to make wisdom saving throws. Apart from the people that have heroism, because you don't have to do it, do you? No, there you go. So taxes and lease, please. You both are overcome with the ferocity, the wave of energy this roar creates, and you wouldn't be able to step forward even if you wanted to, fixed to the spot.
Non-negotiable. Let me inform you what is non-negotiable. You do not leave here until I have what I want.
So Marius has been standing there, and I guess his like hair and stuff was like blowing in the, but he hasn't moved or taken a step back. And he would look up. Then, almighty Taaldarax, why are we even negotiating? Why go through this farce if you're simply going to take what you want like a tyrant? Why even pretend to have a negotiation?
I have but one more thing to offer. The final memory. Withheld from the Anchor, Tarnis and Eryxius. What would you give for that?
Although you have acquiesced to letting us see the birth of the dragons, I am willing to let that slide and replace that, which you've already agreed to, with the memory that you have withheld.
The dragon stops for a second. And recounts what you've just done. And he violently swings his tail. It smashes directly through a giant stone pillar. I would like you all to make dexterity saving throws, please. I believe you get +4 thanks to Marius. So rock is hurtling from above you and smashing all around you. You are all able to pounce out of the way. Apart from Lise, you don't quite manage to see that one large shard of it falls out of the sky and pins you to the ground. And you're going to take 14 points of bludgeoning damage as this thing lands on top of you. Does it feel like, as you're pinned to the ground, it lands on one of your legs, I'm going to say?
At least the terror of his roar and then his anger, she was frozen to the spot, having seen this falling and unable to move, even as the people around her managed to dodge out of the way or calmly sidestep, depending on who they were. And she's stuck under this, and her mind is racing. Just this kind of trapped animal instinct of get out, get out, get out, get out, get out.
And
Because
the
being
dragon.
pinned.
Oh,
Sorry.
No, sorry, you go ahead.
Just being pinned in place when there's a dragon about is against any instinct.
Absolutely, and it's not just any dragon, and this dragon is continuing to roar and rage. Something has happened that has made him to completely lose his cool. You have tricked him. And you can tell that he is now bound to share that memory. And he wheels about coins, jewels, treasures, hurling into the air as he thrashes about with such rage. He roars again. Rocks crumbling from the ceiling, and he slams down both of his paws, and he puts his massive bus-sized head directly in front of you all, and he goes,
You will pay for this transgression. All will pay. I have made Norixius suffer, but that will be nothing in comparison to the wrath that you will feel. Very well. Bask in your memory.
taxes a strand of green energy from the miasma above falls. And it's not like the wave of power that hit you before, because that was all of your memories. This is just one. And you find the energy as you absorb it, essentially. You close your eyes and it's almost like the gaps are being filled in. And once again, you're standing there. That dragon shaman is looking into your eyes and he says, you need to go. You need to run. If you were able to escape, you can act as an anchor and draw this world, our people, back. And then the bit that you didn't remember, the memory that is now filling in. You can run. And you can save us. But we cannot. We shall enact the revenge of the Dragonborn and ensure he can never use us to return. He will stay here as long as we do. Now go. Run, run, run. And the memory echoing back into reality for you, Taxes. You now understand that it was the Dragonborn that were able to seal the way shut. Taaldarax had wanted the Dragonborn to act as an anchor so he could return to the Prime Plane. And now he has you, the last of your kind. And you understand that above all else, that's what he wants. and you, Lawkeepers, have tricked it out of him. I'm going to say, can we have a 2-minute break? And then we're going to conclude this session. Lord, I'm sorry. I know this is running a bit long, man. I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
I'll try and wrap it up as soon as possible. But in the meantime, we'll be really quick and we'll be right back. Okay.
We are in so much trouble.
Yeah, man.
That's awesome. But we're in a lot of trouble.
You're in a lot of trouble, man.
This is so bad.
Any plans?
I mean, running seems like a good idea, but we're not going to make it back across that bridge, across that river, past a whole bunch of Dragonborn, like, with the ancient red dragon right here. Like, oh.
Whew.
Yeah.
But yeah, running seems like a pretty good idea, right?
It's just, can you do it? That's the thing.
I mean, we've been negotiating. We got that thing out of him. Pissed off about it, but still negotiation happening. He's like,
That's
damn by
true.
that to an extent.
Yep. Just waiting on Chad.
You can polymorph depending on the challenge rating and also a thing that you have seen, I think.
Oh yeah.
I think, isn't it only beasts? I think it's only beasts.
That's wild shape is only beasts, I think.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay.
Polymorph is anything, I think.
Yes, yeah. But you're right. You have to have had seen it. So.
And it's challenge rating dependent as well.
Aye. I'm going to do my best to try and wrap this up, Lloyd, because I know you do have to get to another game.
That's okay. We'll manage.
Okay. It's hard work playing a dragon.
Man,
He's back.
I gotta process that for a minute.
You're not allowed to process because we're going straight back into it.
Damn.
So,
Okay, no, we're good. We're good. We're good.
So
Rob, just real quick, did we all get that memory or just taxes?
oh God, it's probably just taxes. You didn't see
Okay.
any of the others, so yeah.
It's okay.
So taxes, you remember this, and you either got to find some way of telling them that it's literally, yeah, what the Revenge of the Dragonborn actually was.
I imagine that that's exactly what happens, though. Is this image frills into his brain. He sees Ulatu's face, and he hears that, "Go, the revenge of the Dragonborn will be carried out, but you must run." And it's then that two clawed hands sort of drape over the sides of Xorvintaal and Marius.
We need to go. This is a fight we will not win. Negotiation. We cannot. His horde.
What are you talking about? Why? What? We're negotiating.
I know. But just listen to me for a second. I'm the anchor. Alatu and my people gave themselves to save our people. I'm the last of them. You understand? No, let's get ourselves together and let's go.
And Marius just starts to like chuckle. Like they have every single card. They hold all of them. And the big dragon has nothing. He's got nothing except being big. And he's just like
Marius. We can't take them with us. Even you can take whatever you want. But don't take Dragonborn.
You're the only one.
No, I'm talking about the Dragon Kid.
But they're not Dragonborn.
With this.
They're not Dragonborn. You're Dragonborn. The only one.
Marius is right, Grim intercedes.
It's only you.
I imagine while this is taking place, there's a flourish of Azarax's wand. I'm going to try to cast Levitate on this stone to pull it off of Lise, if I may. I don't know if that's how heavy it is. I can do up to 500 pounds, so I don't know if I can unpin her.
Yeah, that's fine. You're able to do that.
And I imagine that as this is going, Azarax knows that he has to stall for time, so he turns and he says, "O great resplendent protector, we have come to an agreement on some of the terms. The rest, we will continue the negotiations, but please understand that while we are small, we have wisdom. We do possess a power, a vast power, and while it is not ours to give, it is like you. You are grand and resplendent. There is something in your blood. You are a creature of magnificence. While we are not, we were not born into it as you are. We've earned it through our strength, through our smarts, and through our actions. And it is obvious as the large piece of stone clatters to the ground on the side of Lise, that we are nothing in the reflection of your great power. These are negotiations. You have terms, we have terms. Let us see them through.
You understand. You understand why the anchor is so important to Daggerfang. And I must congratulate you for discovering such. But now I understand that while this anchor is here, the way is open. What is to prevent me from simply leaving?
There's a flash of purple energy as Azrax disappears, reappears behind Taxis, a hand around his mouth, wand at his throat. You want to play hardball? We'll play hardball with you. We know what you want. You're not going to get it. The next best thing for you is the Pact of 101 Years. We are leaving. And you will send the Dragonkin with us. You will have a grand, resplendent area of Farwide to call your own. This is a great advancement in the great game, which, as far as we know, you have already won. But why not extend your influence farther? Trust me, I have spent some time with Taxis. I know how his blood works. A little bit more, he's dead.
The dragon towers over you, and he says,
If you kill him, what is to prevent me from turning you to ashes?
Nothing. But then you would spend the rest of eternity here and never, ever, ever see the prime plane.
and he once again gives his now signature seismic roar. Thrashing about, he lifts entire columns of gold into his claws and just casts them about in abject frustration.
You throw tantrums like a child, Taaldarax.
Give me a dexterity saving throw, please, Marius.
25.
How do you dodge the tail that swings out from the side of him?
I am ready for it, I guess. I'm like watching him and sort of baiting him. And so I can see it coming. It's not like a surprise. It's not particularly quick because he's so enormous. So I can see it coming. And I take a couple of steps very quickly backwards. And the tail smashes into the ground where I was.
And he doesn't stop there. He moves forward, bearing down upon you. And he rears up to full height, opening his maw, and you can see a storm of fire brewing in his throat.
Taxis puts himself between Marius, Azrax, and Lise, standing right in front of the fire.
He's there, and he's sort of like basically stewing this fire into existence within his throat, and then he closes his jaws.
This is my clan, and I will have them have safety in my presence.
He looks at your Lawkeepers assembled and defiant before him.
I accept your terms. You may take the brass Dragonkin, the inferior Dragonkin, and Red Mirror will accompany you. He is entitled to transport the clutch with him.
That was not part of the arrangement.
It is his duty. It is his purpose.
Then choose a different red Dragonkin.
He he doesn't really know how to react. And he sees that there is opportunity for him in your words. But it does mean he's being dictated to by you. He takes a swig.
State your terms in their completion, and we shall agree.
We will take the brass Dragonkin with us. You will send a singular red Dragonkin that is not Red Mirror with us. We will each take one item from your hoard. We will, in 101 years, open the gate again to renegotiate.
I am still curious as to how you shall open such a thing. If it is as you say, closed. I accept your terms. But if I discover that there is a way, and you have deceived me, there will be no kingdom, there will be no power, there will be no force in this multiverse that will protect you from me. I accept your terms.
Then we shall see you in 101 years, O Radiant One.
I shall be counting.
We cut to... I'm going to say it will be a couple of days to mobilize the entirety of the Dragonkin for them to bring everything that they would need. But as Taxes pointed out earlier, they are very different to the Dragonborn in the sense that they are all heavily armored, regimented, disciplined. And as you march from the Great Citadel towards the Midnight River, understanding it will take a while to get that many of them across. So whilst this is going on, and whilst this procedure is happening, is there anything that you would all do because you'll have a little bit of time before you leave? Or is there anything you want to say to each other?
Marius would stay close to Taxes with a weapon at hand at most times, just in case. Like, we've agreed to those terms and that's all well and good, but a dragon can be fickle and might change his mind at any moment, and there might be hundreds of red dragonkin flying down to capture Taxes. And so Marius is basically standing ready to kill him if necessary, or to threaten to if they decide to change their mind.
I think too that like Taxes, knowing this, knowing what he now knows about himself, about the brass dragonborn, all this, he looks to Marius and nods like he knows. Like this is fight. It's the survival instinct. It's the thing that like we know. So I nod, and a brotherly nod, like do it if you have to. Like I understand. And he's just sort of quietly looking at like this new army that they have now amassed.
Grim is speaking to Azarax and Lise. It all kind of makes sense now. The gap in the story, that's what I was feeling. The revenge, the desire for the Dragonborn to at least hold Taaldarax back. I'm sorry I couldn't have known it before.
You don't have to apologize, but why? Why, if you remember now, why did you not remember then?
It wasn't part of the story. I'm connected to you. Taxes didn't know. It didn't have that memory. It wasn't part of our tale.
I see. Well, you don't have to apologize.
There are still more questions than answers. Where did the eggs come from? Why did he want to send them to the Prime Plane? If the gate remains open, can he come through? I don't know the answer to any of these.
Once we walk through, it should close back.
Once Taxes is through on the Prime, yeah, it should close. It should be finished and won't open until we bring him back.
I am going to guard the gate. Someone has to. He's trying to find a way out. Someone should be there. So I think that Azarax would take another magic item from the horde and then go to head over to the gate, just because, you know, he did put in that clause. If he was to find that the gate was open, the deal was off and he was going to ruin our world. So Azarax would say, unless you need me here, I'm going to guard the gate and wait for you there.
Taxes nods.
Go, brother. It'll be all right. Thank you.
And as you do so, maybe you like pat Azarax on the shoulder or something, but you notice something. You might recall back when we were talking about Taxes having his memory returned. I mentioned that ring, the silver talon ring, had activated. And it's weird, as you put your hand onto Azarax's robe, you note that your hand, the scales upon your hand, almost begin to camo into a particular shade of Azarax's robe. Your ring, Taxes, has been activated. It means that you get advantages on stealth rolls, and essentially you can kind of chameleon into different hiding spots like a fucking lizard man. And you get sort of aware of that now as you see it happen. Taaldarax approaches Marius. The Great Protector wanted to send you something to remind you of the words you spoke today.
Indeed.
He steps aside, and there's that armor that was in the horde. It is plate. It is a blackish, dark green color, and it has a flowing kind of cloak at the back of it.
So Marius is wary as all get out of being sent this. He would have chosen it, but now that it's been given to him, his first instinct is to think that it must be cursed. And so he would like look at it up and down and be like, that looks like a very nice suit of armor. And then he would be like, Azarax, come and check this out for me and make sure there's no spikes inside and make sure that I'm not going to turn into a frog when I put it on.
Yeah, and Azarax will be able to do that. It'll take time, but you have quite a lot of time whilst the ferrying is going on across the Midnight River. And it doesn't seem to be, but we can talk about that once more time has passed. And soon you find that the exodus of the Dragonkin, the brass Dragonkin, is fully finishing. And with Azarax having guided them to the cave, they begin to leave through the Dragon Gate. And you soon all find yourselves within that cave. And maybe, Taxes, you're the last one to leave as you look at that silver dragon head. And you look upon the wall where it says, daubed there, death and taxes. You are now always going to be Taxes. That is who you are. But Tarnus and Eryxius will always be part of you as well. And you swipe your tail as you leave. Is there one last closing thought that Taxes would have about this?
Yeah, there's a sadness in his heart. There's this resounding grief and sadness as all the memories of his family, his tribe, his lineage have rushed back into him. As he's looking into this cave and he sees these, and he sees Elise, he sees Azarax, he sees Marius. They're all gathered and doing their own things. And then he sees this small army of brass Dragonkin before him. And that sense of grief, that sense of fear, that sense of anguish is still sitting in his heart. But it's as if once he crosses the threshold of that silver dragon skull, and he sees the cave, there's a sense of hope that sort of begins to renew in his chest. And that fighter instinct begins to grow in him, and that rage begins to billow. And it's not rage of a fight, it's not rage of survival, it's a rage to build. It's a rage to start something new, to start fresh, to build a new society, to build something better than it was before. And that is his ultimate revenge. In his eyes, the ultimate revenge for him is to take these brass Dragonkin from Taaldarax and shape them in the ways of the old dragons, shape them in the ways of the old brass, and to ultimately give a big FU to Taaldarax when finally, if he were to come, these brass will not respond to him. They will look to their new leader. They will look to me, Taxes Eryxius, because I will train them in the ways of the old dragons.
And as you take a point of inspiration at the very end of the session, we have that small amount of closure for Taxes. We see the vast hall that Taaldarax languishes within. And three figures approach. It is a man who is wearing emissarial robes. Taaldarax looks down upon them. He says three words.
State your terms.
And the emissary of Advent smiles. And that is where we shall leave our heroes tonight. So I really enjoyed that, guys. That was really good fun. Really, really great stuff. Really great stuff. Yeah, I couldn't have asked for better. I really didn't know what you were going to do, to be honest. So I'm really pleased with how that went. Chad, why don't you go first? Give us a thought of the game and sign out.
Yeah, man. So I have never been in a game ever that has had pretty much zero combat, but made me feel like I could die with a word. And that was literally this. And I was like, Taxes as a character is not good with words. I knew like if I were to be the one that was going to give those speeches, we would have died 5 minutes in. I'd have been like, fuck you, dragon. We're going to fight, and it would have been horrible. So I gave it over to the others, and I feel like that was the right way to go about it. So good. So fantastic. You made me feel like this dragon was a dragon. You know what I mean? Like, absolutely. I felt that threat 100%. So my name is Chadnick. I play Taxes Nerexius, the Dragonborn rage killer, as it is. Yeah, I'm done. Thanks, guys. This has been a blast. I love you guys. You're my family.
Thanks, man. And I think what was most poignant for me about all of that was the fact that Tax is realizing that he has a new clan, like the Lawkeepers are his new clan, and that he trusts them and cares for them as much as he would if they were blood in the end anyway. So, and was able to trust them with that situation. Lloyd, sorry about coming over, man, but why don't you give us a thought of the game?
I really liked it. Negotiation is my favorite part of role-playing games, and like dialogue, and this game was just dialogue and hard decisions and no good answers. It's really great. Really liked it.
Cool, man. And yeah, thanks for some really, really great diplomacy there. That was great fun. Taylor.
Oh boy, I'm glad I wasn't the one having to talk. I do not think fast enough for this game, but oh my gosh, Rob, well done. Well played as the dragon. Just really kind of keeps you on the edge of your seat, knowing that if you screw up, you're all dead.
Pardon me. That's my throat going after being a dragon for the whole session. Thanks. Yeah, it's really good fun. Lloyd's having to rush because he's got a new game to go to. But yeah, being the dragon, it's really good fun. The challenge is to obviously always have an answer for you, always to have some kind of tactic. And to prepare for this, the only thing I did was the flashbacks at the beginning and the dragon's strategy to sort of undermine you. And you all expertly sort of wove in between that and tricked him. It was so good. Hello, Chris, my man.
This was just a great session. There was zero combat, right? Am I wrong? There was zero combat in this session.
Yeah, he swung for you, but that was about it.
Oh, yeah. There was a little bit, but it wasn't like... It was mostly just that fucking... It was so tense, though, just like Chad said. It was like at any moment we could just be incinerated, and it was great. I think Lloyd did an awesome job. I think Marius did a great job of negotiating, and I feel like it was awesome. Like, everybody had insightful ideas of what to do, and like we had that huddle, and we got together, and shit was about to go south, and we fucking tricked an ancient red dragon. I mean, that's gonna come back and bite us in the ass hard, but as far as like being a player in a role-playing game, that's that's what it's all about, right? I think that was awesome, man. I loved it, Rob. I mean, it was great. I loved it. It was great. I can keep saying those. I loved it. It was great. I loved it. It was great. Oh, wait. Oh, Taylor asked something in the chat, which was very important. Does the gate seal? You can leave the cliffhanger if you want, but we want to know.
You wouldn't have seen it close. It's like I said, like it wasn't so much that it had been open or closed, rather than Daggerfang had been returned to the prime plane. It's been there the whole time. But this is the thing. You have tricked a dragon. You were able to trick a dragon, and what I love about that most is that you hear about pacts with devils and devils being tricked, or dragons being tricked by tricksters and things like that. Like at the heart of like ancient storytelling, that's always like a pillar. So I'm really glad that that's just rocked up in Lawkeepers, and I didn't see it coming. I was like, you actually did it. You actually pulled it off. Anyway, we can talk about this another time. For those of you watching live, and for those of you after that, thank you ever so much. If you like this video, give it a like. If you'd like to see more like it, give us a subscribe, or not. We're all friends here. Or are we? Take it easy, and I hope that all of your performances are up to standard. Wink, everyone. Terminating the broadcast.